We've been shortlisted. I should do some testing before I have an interview. So as you can see here, I've got some toothpicks and I've got some blue tack, and I've arranged them in all the components required to make a dodecahedron. As you can see, there's the bottom half which connects together, and then the top half sits onto the bottom half, and we make a sphere. Now, why pentagons, may you ask? Well, pentagons are actually the only regular shape that only tessellate in 3D but not in 2D, which makes them quite fascinating, and also allows for this nice space in the middle here to then create that light effect that we might have seen in the pictures. Now, unfortunately, these, if you put this on top of here, it just collapses. It's not a rigid structure in its own right, and these pin joints are very flimsy and they just don't really work. So, as all good cooking shows, here's one I prepared earlier. So, this is a dodecahedron. This has pentagons, but if you look closely, it's actually triangles, and then there's triangles in between, and so a dodecahedron is a combination of triangles that makes a rigid structure. So as you can see here, this is quite strong, but this is a lot of parts and it's a pretty common form, so I want to maintain, the purity of this dodecahedron with the lights. So as everyone does, I've got a pair of metal scissors, tin snips lying around, and a piece of metal which I cut into a triangle. Now this triangle, I'm hoping to represent this piece in the corner here. Because the idea is that this is meant to be plumbing pipe, and despite all my efforts of trying to find plumbing pipe to connect these together at 120 degrees, plus the curvature of the dome, they just don't exist. So let's just make one ourselves, right? So the idea was to take this triangle, which is a piece of metal, so it's slightly bendable, and then take this plumbing pipe I also had lying around. And as you can see, these two things fit together nicely. So I was going to cut this into little pieces and then stick them onto the corners, and then this black pipe, which is representing a larger stick here, will fit into each of the corners, and then we create this overall dome. So hopefully this will work. It's been a few days, I had to think about this, and I've made this prototype we discussed before. Got the three pieces there, I've bent the metal slightly for the curvature of the dome, and had these things so they quite easily come out. So it's possible for, making it many pieces. This plate here, as for the scale version, I'm not really certain what we'll make it out of, but it's a bit complicated and I don't really like it. So I thought of this idea here, which is just buying standard right angle plumbing pipe and a standard hose clamp and whack them together. As you can see, this makes quite a strong 120 degree connection, and I can buy varying degrees of angles, such as 45 or whatnot, to get that curvature. And these hose clamps are surprisingly strong, so this makes it quite simple. Also makes a nice connection point here for when I want to thread the lighting through later on. But I need both options just in case, because the engineer is the ultimate person who decides this, and I've got to go with what he says. So I also looked into the pattern. This is what I made here by just simply taping together a couple of sticks, and you can see the string running around. It's actually quite simple, where it's just you just take midpoint here, and it's obviously already connected to those 2 points, and you just run a wire to all the other corners, and you just repeat that all the way around, and you get this pattern. Interesting part about this is that it actually, despite the fact it can fold like this, it does actually make the square a bit stiffer. As you can see over here, my failed attempt at trying to make that dome from last time, and even with my supporting structure, ain't doing so well. So what I'm sort of thinking now is maybe we can take the tensional aspects of this, which is triangulating it, going back to the triangles from before, and one of these stiffening joints here, and a combination of the two might actually make something that stands up.